The Talon freighter Stellar Drifter spun through the dangerous asteroid field of Orion 9. Its engines were dead. Life support was failing. The ship had no power to change course. Small rocks hit the hull every few minutes, making hollow sounds that echoed through the ship. Captain Wren stood on the bridge. His 6 limbs gripped the floor to stay steady as the ship tumbled. The blue marks on his gray skin glowed brighter with stress. All 3 of his eyes were fixed on the main screen, which showed the asteroids around them. Some were small as cars. Others were the size of mountains. "Captain, shield strength is now at 15%. First Officer Navy said. Her thin antennae moved nervously on top of her head. "Life support will fail in 5 hours if we don't get help." Wren looked at his crew. There were 12 of them, from 5 different planets. All were experts. All had families waiting for them. The thought of failing them made his inner hearts ache. "How did we end up here?" asked Tulo, the young engineer. His scaled skin had turned pale with fear. "We hit a quantum fissure," said Wren. "It wasn't on any map. The energy surge fried our systems. The Stellar Drifter was carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies. They had chosen this route because it was faster, even though everyone knew Orion 9 was dangerous. The asteroid field was always changing due to the pull of 3 dying stars. Most ships avoided it completely. "Send out a distress signal on all channels," Wren ordered. His voice was calm despite his fear. "And post on the Galactic Reddit emergency board." Nave looked surprised. Galactic Reddit. But that's mostly used by anyone who might help us, Wren finished. "At this point, I don't care who comes. Pirates, traitors, even those new humans from Earth. We just need someone who can reach us in time." Casso, the communications officer, typed quickly. "What should I say in the post?" Wren thought for a moment. "Tell the truth. We're stranded in Orion 9 with failing life support. We need a pilot who can navigate this field and either repair our ship or take us out." "No one will come," whispered Milo, the medical officer. "No ship can safely fly through this field at speed. It would be suicide." "Someone will come," Wren said firmly, though he wasn't sure he believed it. "There are brave pilots in every corner of the galaxy." Casso finished typing and sent the message. "Posted. Now we wait." The crew moved to essential tasks. They shut down all systems except life support and communications. The ship grew cold. Their breath formed small clouds in the air. 2 hours passed with no response. The shields weakened to 10%. A larger asteroid struck the ship, making it spin faster. Emergency lights flashed red. "Hull breach in Cargo Section 3, reported Tulo. "I've sealed it, but we lost some of the medical supplies." Wren nodded. He moved to the viewport and looked out at the endless field of rocks. In the distance, he could see flashes as asteroids collided. It was beautiful and deadly. "Captain," Casso called suddenly, "we have a response on Galactic Reddit." The crew gathered around the communications station. On the screen was a simple message. "Received your distress call. Earth vessel XR-77 Thunderbolt en route to your position. ETA 90 minutes. Hold tight. Commander Hana, Earth Space Fleet." "A human ship?" Navy asked, disbelief in her voice. "They only joined the galactic community 60 years ago. Can they even navigate Orion 9? Humans are known to be unpredictable," Wren said, "and sometimes foolishly brave." "I've heard stories," Mello added. "They say human pilots have unusually fast reactions, something about their evolution as prey animals on a high-gravity world." "I don't care if they're evolved from space dust," Wren said. "If they're coming to help, that's all that matters." They watched the radar anxiously. After an hour, a small blip appeared at the edge of their sensor range. It was moving incredibly fast, much faster than should be possible in an asteroid field. "That can't be right," Tulo said, checking the readings. "No ship should be able to maintain that speed through Orion 9. "The human ship?" Wren asked. "Yes, And it's changing course constantly, making adjustments I didn't think were possible. They crowded around the viewport. In the distance, they could see a small ship with sleek lines. It darted between asteroids like a fish in water, rolling and spinning with amazing precision. One moment it would accelerate toward a gap that seemed too small. The next it would suddenly brake and let an asteroid pass before continuing. "That's not possible," Navi whispered. "No autopilot could calculate those movements fast enough." "I don't think it's an autopilot," Ren said, watching the approaching ship with growing hope. "I think it's the human." The communications panel lit up again. "Stellar Drifter, this is Commander Hannah of Earth. I'm approaching your position. Prepare for emergency docking in approximately 10 minutes. Ren pressed the response button. "This is Captain Ren. We are ready, Commander. And thank you for coming." There was a pause. Then the human's voice came through again, surprisingly calm given the circumstances. "No need for thanks, Captain. It's what anyone would do." Ren looked at his crew, who all shook their heads. No, it wasn't what anyone would do. Most ships would have considered their situation hopeless. "How are you navigating the field?" Tulo couldn't help asking. "Our sensors show you're making course corrections that should be impossible." A light laugh came through the speaker. "Let's just say I have good reflexes and I've always enjoyed a challenge. Now I need you to prepare your emergency docking bay. I'll be there soon." For the first time in hours, Ren felt hope. They watched in amazement as the Earth ship danced through the asteroid field toward them, piloted by a human who seemed to defy the laws of physics. Help was coming, and it wore a human face. Commander Hannah sat alone in the back corner of the space station Omega's cafe. The station hung in orbit around Earth's moon, a huge metal ring where ships from 20 different worlds came to trade. Hannah sipped her synthetic coffee and made a face. It tasted like burned plastic, but it had caffeine, and that was all she needed right now. The cafe was mostly empty. A few aliens sat at other tables, a group of tall, thin Mirians with their long necks bent low to talk quietly, and a single Dorn trader whose rock-like skin made soft grinding sounds when he moved. No one looked at Hannah, which was just how she liked it. At 32, Hannah was the most famous pilot in Earth's fleet. She had won the Solar System Racing Championship 3 times. She had flown through the deadly rings of Saturn to rescue a stranded research team. Once, she had even outrun a Garaxian warship when her small scout vessel should have been easily caught. People said her reflexes weren't human. They were too fast, too perfect. But today, Commander Hannah was not flying. She wore simple clothes instead of her uniform. A small bag sat at her feet with everything she owned. 3 days ago, the space fleet had suspended her. The official reason: insubordination and unauthorized use of military equipment. The real reason was more complicated. A colony ship carrying refugees had been attacked by pirates near the Nexus corridor. The space fleet had ordered all pilots to stay away. The pirates had threatened to blow up the ship if military vessels approached. But Hannah had taken her fighter anyway. She had flown in with her transponder off, docked with the colony ship, and helped the refugees fight back against the pirates. Everyone had lived, except for some of the pirates. She had broken 7 different treaties and violated direct orders. The fact that she had saved 400 lives was the only reason she wasn't in prison. Hannah's wrist communicator buzzed. The small screen showed a familiar face. Dr. Jin from Earth's Space Communications Division. Jin's round face looked worried. His usual smile was gone. "Should I answer this?" Hannah muttered to herself. Jin was her friend, but he also worked for the people who had suspended her. She sighed and pressed the accept button. "I'm not supposed to be talking to you," she said by way of greeting. Jin didn't waste time. "Hannah, someone just posted an emergency request on Galactic Reddit. A ship is stranded in Orion 9. Hannah put down her coffee. Galactic Reddit was where people from all worlds shared news and asked for help. It wasn't an official channel, which meant the stranded ship was desperate. Orion 9. Hannah repeated. The asteroid field. That's practically suicide. No one goes there on purpose. The ship hit some kind of quantum fissure. Their engines are dead. Life support failing. They have maybe 5 hours left. Hannah frowned. Why are you telling me this? I'm suspended, remember. Call Fleet Command. Jin's image looked around nervously before speaking more quietly. I did. They say it's too dangerous to send anyone. The risk calculation doesn't justify the attempt. How many crew on the stranded ship? 12. Different species. They were carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies. Hannah closed her eyes. 12 lives. Medical supplies that might save more lives. And Fleet Command had decided they weren't worth the risk. Exactly why I called you, Jin continued. No one else will try. Hannah thought for a moment. She was already suspended. If she took this on, she might never fly for the fleet again. She might even face criminal charges. What kind of ship would I even use? She asked. I can't exactly borrow a fleet vessel. Jin smiled for the first time. That's the thing. The new XR-77 Thunderbolt prototype is docked at Bay 12 for testing. I happen to know the security code. And I also happen to know it has enough range to reach Orion 9, the Thunderbolt. Hannah's eyes widened. The experimental ship with the new quantum drive. Jin, that's not even cleared for deep space yet. It's the fastest ship we have, the only one that might make it through Orion 9 in time. Jin paused. Also, I may be told the deck officer that you were authorized to take it for a test flight. Hannah stared at him. You're risking your career too. 12 lives, Hannah. Jin's voice was steady. Sometimes the rules are wrong. Hannah stood up suddenly. Send the coordinates to my personal device and delete this conversation from the logs. Jin nodded. Already done. Bay 12 is clear for the next 20 minutes during shift change. If this goes wrong, Hannah started. It won't. You're the best pilot in the galaxy. Jin's face grew serious. But Hannah, Orion 9 is not like anything you've flown before. The asteroid patterns are unpredictable. The gravitational forces change constantly. I like a challenge, Hannah said, but her stomach tightened with nervous energy. She picked up her bag. One more thing, Jin said. The ship in trouble is called the Stellar Drifter. It's a Talon freighter with an Arcturian captain named Ren. Arcturians, Hannah said thoughtfully. 6 limbs, right? Good. Extra hands might be useful for repairs. 15 minutes later, Hannah sat in the pilot's seat of the XR-77 Thunderbolt. The ship was beautiful, sleek and responsive, with controls that seemed to anticipate her thoughts. She ran her fingers over the smooth panels, familiarizing herself with the layout. Station control. This is Commander Hannah in the Thunderbolt, she said into the comm, requesting departure clearance for test flight. There was a pause, then a confused voice answered. Commander, our records show you're on. Special assignment. But we do have a test flight authorization from Dr. Jin. Clearance granted. Bay doors opening. Thank you, Control, Hannah said, firing up the engines. The ship hummed to life around her. Don't expect me back soon. This might be a long test. As the bay doors slid open to reveal the star-filled blackness of space, Hannah set the coordinates for Orion 9. The navigation computer immediately flashed warnings. Danger. Orion 9, asteroid field. Extreme navigation hazard. Re-COMMENDDAQJON. Choose alternate route. Hannah overrode the warnings and pushed the throttle forward. The Thunderbolt shot out of the space station like a bullet. Hang on, Stellar Drifter, she whispered. I'm coming. The XR-77 Thunderbolt raced through space at incredible speed. Stars blurred outside the viewports as Hannah pushed the experimental drive to its limits. The ship vibrated slightly, its engines making a high-pitched hum that filled the small cockpit. Hannah sat perfectly still in the pilot's seat, only her hands moving across the controls. Her eyes were fixed on the main display, which showed her approach to the Orion 9 asteroid field. The field looked like a thick cloud of rocks ahead, ranging from tiny pebbles to massive boulders the size of mountains. Even from this distance, she could see them moving, colliding, breaking apart. "This is going to be close," Hannah muttered to herself. According to her calculations, the stranded ship had less than 3 hours of life support left. She needed to reach them, dock, and either repair their engines or evacuate the crew before their air ran out. The ship's computer spoke in a calm female voice. "Entering Orion 9 in 2 minutes. Recommended action. Turn back immediately." Hannah ignored the warning. She tapped a series of commands into the control panel. "Override safety protocols," she ordered. "Switch to manual control." The computer hesitated, as if reluctant to obey. "Warning. Survival probability in Orion 9 under manual control is less than 12%. "Noted," Hannah said. She took a deep breath and gripped the flight stick. "But those aliens have 0% chance if I don't try." The computer fell silent. The control panels changed color from blue to red, indicating that the safety systems were now off. Hannah was in complete control. She reduced speed slightly as she approached the edge of the asteroid field. From a distance, it had looked dense but manageable. Up close, it was terrifying. Thousands of rocks spun and tumbled in every direction. Some moved slowly, drifting in lazy circles. Others shot through the field like bullets. The gravitational pull from 3 dying stars nearby made their movements unpredictable. "Entering Orion 9 now," Hannah said, recording her journey for the ship's log. "Beginning navigation through the field." The first asteroid appeared directly in her path, a massive gray rock spinning slowly. Hannah banked hard to the left, sliding past it with meters to spare. As soon as she cleared it, 3 smaller rocks came at her from different angles. She pulled up, letting 2 pass beneath her, then rolled right to avoid the third. And then she was in the thick of it. Hannah's hands moved across the controls without conscious thought. She pushed the ship into a dive as a cloud of tiny, sharp rocks passed overhead. She pulled up sharply to avoid a collision between 2 medium-sized asteroids. She spun the ship in a tight spiral to thread through a narrow gap that existed for only seconds. The ship's sensors beeped constantly, warning of new dangers. Hannah processed the information without looking away from the viewport. Her mind worked at an incredible speed, calculating trajectories, predicting collisions, finding the safe paths that appeared and disappeared in seconds. This wasn't flying by the book anymore. No pilot training covered this kind of navigation. It was pure instinct now, a dance between human and machine, between skill and luck. "Engine temperature rising," the computer warned. "Recommend reducing speed." Hannah ignored this too. Reducing speed would mean longer exposure to the dangers of the field. Better to push through fast. She tightened her grip on the controls as the ship shuddered from a near miss with a fast-moving asteroid. 20 minutes into the field, Hannah encountered her first real challenge. Ahead, a massive asteroid the size of a small moon blocked her path. Around it, smaller rocks orbited like a miniature solar system. There was no clear way through. "Analyzing alternative routes," the computer said. "No time," Hannah responded. She increased speed instead of slowing down, aiming directly at the giant rock. At the last possible moment, she pulled the ship into a steep climb, using the asteroid's own gravity to slingshot the thunderbolt over its surface. The maneuver subjected her to crushing forces, pressing her back into her seat. Her vision blurred at the edges, but she maintained control, fighting against the pressure. The ship cleared the rock by mere meters, passing so close that the asteroid's dust and ice particles pinged against the hull. "That was too close," the computer commented. Hannah allowed herself a small smile. It worked, didn't it? The next challenge came in the form of a debris field, the remains of what might have once been a small moon, now shattered into countless sharp fragments. The pieces moved unpredictably, tumbling and colliding in a deadly cloud. Hannah slowed slightly, studying the pattern. There was no clear path through, but as she watched, she began to see a rhythm to the chaos, moments when the collisions created temporary gaps. She pushed the throttle forward and dove into the debris field. The ship twisted and turned, rolled and pivoted as Hannah guided it through gaps that closed seconds after she passed. A large chunk of rock scraped along the ship's starboard side, sending a screeching sound through the hull. Warning lights flashed on her console. Hull integrity at 96%. The computer reported. Minor damage to outer plating. "We can fix that later," Hannah said through gritted teeth, focused entirely on the next obstacle. An hour into the journey, Hannah started to feel the strain. Her hands ached from gripping the controls. Sweat beaded on her forehead. Every muscle in her body was tense, ready to react to the next threat. But she didn't allow herself to rest, not even for a moment. 12 lives depended on her reaching that stranded ship. Detecting distress beacon, the computer announced suddenly. The stellar drifter is approximately 20 minutes ahead at current speed. Hope surged through Hannah. Send them a message. Tell them we're coming. As if the universe wanted to test her one final time. The path ahead suddenly filled with asteroids colliding in a massive chain reaction. Rocks smashed into each other, creating new debris that shot outward like shrapnel. Hannah didn't hesitate. She pushed the Thunderbolt's engines to maximum and aimed for the heart of the collisions. Her hands flew over the controls, making dozens of tiny adjustments each second. The ship responded perfectly, dancing between the flying rocks, slipping through gaps that seemed impossibly small. "We're going to make it," Hannah whispered to herself as she spotted the stranded freighter in the distance. "We're actually going to make it." The alien crew of the stellar drifter huddled together on the bridge. The ship's temperature had dropped to near freezing. Their breath formed clouds in the air. The emergency lights cast everything in a dim red glow. Captain Wren had ordered the crew to gather in one room to conserve body heat. The 12 aliens sat close together, sharing the last of their food. No one had spoken for nearly an hour. What was there to say? The life support system was failing. The air was growing thin. They had sent their distress call, but no one had come. Wren looked at his crew. Tulo, the young engineer, was trying to fix a broken panel, though everyone knew it was pointless. Melo, the medical officer, moved among the crew, checking on those who seemed weakest. Casso sat at the communication station, still watching for any response to their call. First Officer Navi had not left her post at the sensor station. Her antennae had drooped with cold and tiredness, but she kept her eyes on the screens. Suddenly, she straightened up. "Captain," she called, her voice weak but excited. "Something's approaching. Moving fast." The crew stirred. Wren pushed himself up and moved to join Navi at her station. The sensor screen showed a small blip moving through the asteroid field toward them at high speed. "Is it real?" Wren asked. "Not a sensor error. It's real," Navi confirmed. "But I don't understand how it's moving like that. Look." She adjusted the screen to show a visual feed. In the distance, they could see a small ship with sleek lines. It was performing maneuvers that seemed impossible, sliding sideways between two large asteroids with barely any space to spare, spinning through a narrow gap between colliding rocks, accelerating suddenly to pass through a temporary opening before it closed. "No autopilot could do that," Tulo said, watching over Wren's shoulder. "Those movements are too fluid, too adaptive." The communications panel lit up with an incoming message. Casso quickly accepted it. A calm, clear voice filled the bridge. "Stellar Drifter, this is Commander Hannah of Earth. I've received your distress call and am approaching your position. Preparing to dock. Stand by." The aliens looked at each other in shock. "Earth?" Mello whispered. "The humans." Everyone knew about Earth. The planet had only achieved faster than light travel 60 years ago, making them newcomers to the galactic community. Most older species viewed humans as primitive, though they had advanced quickly. "They're so young," Tulo said. Why would they risk coming to Orion 9? Maybe because no one else would, Ren replied simply. They crowded around the viewports to watch the approaching ship. It was much smaller than the stellar drifter, clearly designed for speed rather than cargo. The sleek vessel dodged a final cluster of asteroids, then decelerated rapidly as it approached their position. That ship must have incredible inertial dampeners, Tulo said admiringly. The pilot should have been crushed by those maneuvers. The Earth vessel circled their stranded ship once, apparently scanning for damage, then moved toward the emergency docking port at the side of the freighter. Stellar Drifter, I'm aligning with your port now. Commander Hannah's voice came through again. Your docking mechanism appears damaged. I'll need to use magnetic locks. Understood, Commander, Ren responded. We're ready when you are. They watched as the Earth ship perfectly aligned itself with their emergency port, hovering just meters away. There was a metallic clunk as magnetic clamps engaged, pulling the two ships together. The airlock indicator changed from red to green, showing a good seal. Everyone stay back from the airlock, Ren ordered as they heard the sound of the outer door cycling. The inner door slid open with a hiss of equalizing pressure. A figure stood in the doorway, looking around at the dim bridge. The human was much smaller than any of them had expected, standing just over half the height of Captain Ren. The alien crew stared in fascination. Unlike them, the human had only 4 limbs, 2 legs and 2 arms, and walked fully upright. She wore a close-fitting protective suit with Earth Fleet written across the chest, though she had removed her helmet, revealing a face with 2 eyes and short black hair. The human stepped forward, seemingly unbothered by the cold or the alien stares. She looked around the bridge, quickly taking in the damaged systems and the weakened crew. I'm Commander Hannah, she said, her voice calm and confident despite the situation. Let's get you out of here. Captain Ren stepped forward. I am Captain Ren of the Talon freighter Stellar Drifter. We didn't think anyone would come. The human smiled slightly. Well, I'm here now. Your distress call said you had engine problems after hitting a quantum fissure. Yes, Tulo said, moving forward eagerly. The fissure created an energy surge that fried our navigation and propulsion systems. We've been drifting ever since. Hannah nodded. I brought repair equipment, but we need to work fast. Your life support is failing, and this area of the field is becoming more unstable. Navi looked at the human with new respect. How did you navigate through the asteroid field? We've never seen piloting like that. I just followed the gaps, Hannah said simply, as if flying through Orion 9 was an everyday occurrence. Now show me your engine room. Maybe we can get your ship moving again. And if we can't, Mello asked. Then you'll all come with me on the Thunderbolt, Hannah replied, already moving toward the ship's inner corridors. It'll be tight, but we'll make it work. The alien crew exchanged glances of relief and amazement. The human spoke with such certainty, such calm confidence, that they couldn't help but believe her. For the first time since hitting the quantum fissure, they felt hope. As they followed the small human through their ship, Ren moved close to Navi. I've heard stories about humans, he said quietly, that they evolved on a high-gravity world with thousands of predators, that their reaction times are twice as fast as most species. I've heard they're reckless, Navi replied, that they don't calculate risks like other species do. They watched as Hannah examined a damaged panel, her movements quick and precise. Right now, Ren said, I'm very glad for human recklessness. The XR-77 Thunderbolt was built for speed, not comfort, and certainly not for carrying passengers. The ship had only one seat, for the pilot. But now, 12 aliens from the Stellar Drifter were packed into every available space. 5 of the smaller crew members were squeezed into the cargo hold. 4 more were in the narrow corridor behind the cockpit. The remaining 3, including Captain Ren, were in the cockpit with Hannah. It was very tight. I'm sorry about the space, Hannah said as she finished the pre-flight checks. Repairs to the Stellar Drifter had failed. The quantum fissure had damaged too many systems. The medical supplies were safely transferred to the Thunderbolt, along with the ship's data cores and the crew's few personal items. Captain Wren folded his 6 limbs close to his body to take up less space. He watched Hana work with all 3 of his eyes. "Your vessel cannot possibly escape with this additional mass," he said, looking at the ship's calculations on the screen. "The physics. I don't really concern myself with physics on days like this," Hana replied with a small smile. Her hands moved quickly over the controls. "Hold tight, everyone. Our trip out will be faster than my trip in." She activated the ship's comm system. "Attention all passengers. We are about to navigate through the Orion 9 asteroid field. The journey will be bumpy. Please secure yourselves as best you can." From the back of the ship came sounds of aliens grabbing onto anything solid. Hana released the magnetic clamps that held them to the dead freighter. The Thunderbolt drifted free, its engines humming softly. "Ready?" she asked, looking at Wren. The alien captain nodded, though his skin had turned a paler shade of gray. Hana pushed the throttle forward. The Thunderbolt lurched, then shot forward into the asteroid field. The extra weight made the ship handle differently. It was slower to respond, harder to turn. But Hana adapted quickly, changing her flying style to match the ship's new limitations. They passed the first cluster of asteroids without incident. Hana wove between the rocks with careful precision, keeping a safe distance from each one. "This isn't so bad," said Tulo from behind the pilot's seat. Just then, the ship's sensors beeped urgently. Ahead of them, 2 massive asteroids were on a collision course. The path Hana had planned was about to be blocked. Without hesitation, Hana changed direction, diving beneath the larger asteroid. The ship shuddered as it passed through a cloud of dust and small rocks. Warning lights flashed on the control panel. "Minor damage to the outer hull," Hana reported calmly. "Nothing serious." The aliens looked at each other nervously. This was just the beginning of their journey through the field. As they continued, the challenges grew greater. The extra weight of the passengers meant the ship couldn't dodge as quickly. Hana had to plan further ahead, anticipating dangers before they appeared. Then the sensors showed a wall of colliding asteroids directly ahead, dozens of large rocks smashing together in a chain reaction. There was no clear path through. "We'll have to go around," Wren said, pointing to a longer route on the navigation screen. Hana shook her head. "Too slow. We'd burn too much fuel." Instead, she increased speed, heading straight for the collisions. "What are you doing?" Mello cried from the corridor. Hana didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the asteroid field, watching the patterns of movement. The collisions weren't random. They followed rules of physics. And where there were rules, there were exceptions. Gaps. Opportunities. She pushed the throttle to maximum. The Thunderbolt shot forward toward certain destruction. The aliens held their breath. At the last possible moment, Hana spotted it, a gap forming between 2 large asteroids as they rebounded from a collision. The opening would exist for less than a second. "There," she whispered, and turned the ship toward it. The Thunderbolt slipped through the gap just as it began to close. Smaller rocks scraped against the hull, making horrible screeching sounds. Then they were through, flying into clearer space beyond. "Is this normal for humans?" Wren asked, his voice shaking. He was holding onto the wall with all 6 limbs, his claws leaving marks in the metal. Hana smiled. "No, I'm just having a bit of fun." For the next hour, Hana guided the overloaded ship through the worst of Orion 9. She flew in ways that defied the ship's design limitations. She found paths where none should exist. When faced with impossible choices, she created new options. The aliens watched in silent amazement. They had all flown in space their entire lives, but they had never seen piloting like this. It wasn't just skill, it was art. Finally, the density of asteroids began to thin. The edge of Orion 9 appeared ahead. "We're almost out," Hana announced. A cheer went up from the aliens. Some of them were crying with relief. Then, without warning, a massive asteroid appeared from behind them, moving faster than anything they had seen. It was on a direct collision course with the Thunderbolt. "Brace!" Hannah shouted. She yanked the controls hard to the right and cut the main engines. The ship spun, narrowly avoiding the asteroid's path. But the sudden maneuver threw them into the path of another rock. There was no time to dodge. Hannah hit a button on her control panel. Small emergency thrusters fired from the ship's underside, pushing them up just enough that the asteroid passed beneath them, with centimeters to spare. And then they were clear. The open space of the galaxy spread out before them, beautiful and safe. Hannah set course for the nearest space station and engaged the autopilot. She leaned back in her seat, suddenly aware of how tired she was. The aliens were quiet, still processing what they had just lived through. "Thank you," Ren said finally. "You risk your life for strangers." Hannah shrugged. "It's what anyone would do." "No," Ren said firmly. "It's not." 2 weeks later, after the aliens had been safely returned to their homeworlds and the medical supplies delivered to the colonies that needed them, a post appeared on Galactic Reddit. User StarCaptain Ren wrote, "ATTNTLION. If you're ever in danger near Earth, call for human help. They're incredible, their reflexes are unmatched, and they seem to enjoy flying through death traps. Full rescue video coming soon. #HumanSuriAmazing #Thank you Commander Hannah." The post included a short clip from the Stellar Drifter's external cameras, showing the Thunderbolt dancing through the asteroid field. The video spread quickly across the galaxy. Species that had never spoken to humans suddenly wanted to meet them. The post received millions of upvotes and thousands of comments. "Is this real? No ship should be able to move like that. Humans are crazy. I love it. My cousin works with a human. Says they drink poison for fun. Makes sense now." Within a month, alien ships began specifically requesting human pilots for dangerous routes. Earth's space fleet was flooded with requests for human navigators, much to the confusion of Earth's officials. As for Hannah, her suspension was quietly canceled. When she returned to duty, her commanding officer handed her a stack of pilot assignment requests from across the galaxy. "You've become something of a celebrity," he told her. Hannah just smiled and picked up the first request. "I hear the Meridian Cloud is supposed to be impossible to navigate," she said. "Sounds like fun."